we will get to see how they fare up next against WetUp, another team that we watched. They won 3-1 against Pico
Both
de
carbon
Gallo.
teams, right?
Exactly, both carbon teams. So this will be either very interesting or very chaotic and uncastable.
It's a 50-50 with carbon.
It's a 50-50.
Volty always makes for an interesting match to commentate.
Yes, yes. Although I do believe that these teams will be on equal pedestals, so that's very exciting. And there's another aspect of having two carbons on the field. It's that counterpicking suddenly becomes a lot more complicated. You can't just pick a map to enable your carbon player, because you'll be enabling the enemy carbon player as well.
That's true. I expect to see Museum come out here, in all honesty, just because it was so comfy on the side of Daybreak there. And also, quick look at Beta Bracket. Some really exciting stuff going on there. Getting into finals there also with Green versus Crushing 20s. Yeah, I guess your 20s can be a little crushing. That's fair.
Look, I'm 23 and I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I turned 28 this summer. Tell me about it.
Well, I hope you're joking. I'm joking. I'm good. We're good. Oh, there's also cranking 28s in quarterfinals of Gamma Bracket. Well.
Getting close to grand finals right now in Gamma, actually.
Yeah, it seems like this bracket moved on quite fast, so a lot of one-sided matches in this bracket today. Which is, it's great to see this contrast. So in the lowest bracket, there's still a lot of skill disparity.
Oh yeah.
While in alpha brackets, the games or in the sets seem to have been a lot closer, especially towards this end. There's a lot of 2-1s in quarterfinals, and there's a 3-2 and a 3-1 in semis. It's only in the loser side of the bracket that it seems to be more lopsided.
And there's still some 2-1s throughout that.
Yeah, still. So this points to two things in my head. Good seeding, congrats to whoever seeded, and it might have been Sendu Q or Sendu Inc. I don't know.
Look, we love complimenting Sendo Inc.
Yeah,
we love Sendo Inc.
Complimenting Sendu is about the purest thing you can do as a Splatoon player right now.
Or
not even right now.
At any point in Splatoon's history.
Throughout the past 8 years, complimenting Sendu is just heavily smiled upon.
He watched some of the first guides I watched that helped me figure out how to aim better, way back when he still made video.
Great. Shout out Sendu.
Shout out Sendu.
It's never
Forever
a bad
and
moment
always.
to shout out Sendu. Anyways, it points to good seeding, and it points to a very, very even and interesting environment in low ink. Because there's a lot of teams that could win, it seems.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it'll also be interesting for any of the teams that are set teams for Ludi, because Ludi divs come out shortly after this today.
Exactly. To me, this points to a great environment for competition within the skill level, which is great, because it means that these same teams, some will hit a plateau, but most of them will probably get better together and get stronger together. And today, Daybreak might get banned from low ink, and next month, WetUp might get banned from low ink, and suddenly they're climbing up the echelons, and they're climbing together, and it becomes this kind of rivalry and this parallelism between these teams, which is great to see. And it's always sad when the latter end of these brackets, in any skill level and in any tournament, become very one-sided.
Yeah,
so
wipes aren't fun.
Yeah. I'm very, very happy to see this, Nox.
Me too, especially because like the closer teams are in skill, the more they'll improve when they play against each other, because it really forces you into those situations where you have to adapt and you have to grow. Because if you're losing too much, you get disheartened. If you're winning by too much, why would you try harder?
Yeah.
But if it's always tight, you're always going to find new things. You're always going to find new creative ways to improve. And that's so cool. Finding ways to improve is always so interesting and exciting.
Yeah. Be it trying a different strategy, a different comp, or even just training or practicing this skill of adaptation. And oh, we talk too much. We're already in a game. I didn't even notice. We are so in the zone, Nox. But we're going into Barnacle. Barnacle, spot zones. I wanted to talk about these team comps, but I guess we'll do so during the game.
Yeah, well, and we're still seeing that really heavy paint coming out of Daybreak, which, while both teams have carbons, I'd say that favors Daybreak pretty heavily, especially with the missiles being able to help point out the other carbon.
Yeah.
Just in terms of paint, Daybreak's looking comfy here.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Although, on the side of WetUp, we have the triple ink strikes that can act as kind of a smoke screen for the Carbon player to push up, as well as this Reef Slider that can really displace enemies and disrupt their positioning, which would aid the Carbon as well. WetUp here, getting super early control, and for as early as that was, getting the lead down to 50 is very, very impressive.
It is. We do see one of their players finally going down. 2 down now. Now going to be the Carbon using this Zuka to try and get that pencil out of the zone. Going to be able to, but the trip strikes are going to stall it out just a little bit longer, and every extra point on the board goes a mile here. As we're seeing Daybreak finally capping the zone, but a push to 29 in the first minute from WetUp is absolutely wild.
Yeah, what a great first hold. And they are looking to play oppressive in response. So Shama here trying to rain down these shots on the enemy team, and the Carbon just getting a pick, pulling out, and then going back in. I don't think, oh, never mind. I was going to say this Reef Slider won't do much, but it does end up getting a pick. But it doesn't really matter, since WetUp can't really get in. This Trizuka not doing much, choosing to jump back, but with the Slosher going down, Daybreak in a very, very good position to take the lead or even KO Nox.
Yeah, well, and this is what we were talking about earlier, and right at the start of this too. This is where that paint comes in so handy, because WetUp can't really move in. They don't have a way in other than hoping that that Reef Slider can break in, hoping that the Carbon finds a flank angle. And this is just not one of those maps where the flanks are hard to watch, especially with a pencil and a heavy keeping a close eye on everything, and a pro with that intense mid-range. Daybreak's just gonna shine on zones, kind of no matter what they do.
Yeah, that was what seemed to be a game where WetUp was completely reigning and in control. Suddenly, with the flip and with what you mentioned with the painting ability that Daybreak has, they just completely locked the other team out, which just plays to the strength of this comp. And I was thinking, and this is what I wanted to talk about before I realized that the game started, but WetUp does have a trick up their sleeve. Their player, I forget the exact in-game name because on Sendu it's a different one, but their bucket player, the Slosher player, King Vamp, there it is, was playing a lot of E-Leader in the previous set that we watched them play in. So I'm thinking, is E-Leader too hard to play into that other comp? Is it going to be too slow? Does it not have a special that helps break through Daybreak's defenses, or does it have that extra range that WetUp needs to break through or to displace the Heavy and the Snipe Rider?
Yeah. I mean, it definitely would be a great thing to pick into a Heavy. Heavy has very few answers to E-Leader. The problem there is that you're going to have the Zuka that can come at you, and the Carbon that'll be under ledges just trying to get your feet constantly.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Also,
we're
tower
going
ship
to
shape.
TC. Yeah, ship shape, tower control. Very interesting.
Very steamroll heavy.
Exactly, and for that reason exactly, I'm thinking that the leader will stay in the pocket, and the Slosher will be the go-to, especially with the triple ink strikes to help clear any checkpoints or to help defend the tower as well, or stop an enemy push. I think they really don't want to give up this the tacticaler from the Snipe
No.
Rider. Definitely a bad idea in my eyes. And I'm not too sure about this map. Maybe we'll see a different the other variant of the Dreadbringer with the Crab Tank, which
Yeah.
could also help fight the range battle that is currently
Yeah.
getting fought.
I would more expect to see that. I would hope to see that over the Reef Slider one, especially for TC's ship shape, personally. There's lots of good crab spots on this map. It can really help put out a lot of pressure, like you were saying with the range battle. It doesn't really help lay down paint, admittedly,
No.
but that just kind of is the situation they're in. It's the situation that everyone playing against Daybreak is going to be in. It's just hard to fight that amount of paint, especially now that they've put the Frozen Pro in there.
Oh no,
and you're seeing that E-liter.
Splatana Wiper and the E-liter coming out, as well as the Slosher, still from
Splatana
Vanking.
and Carbon is interesting.
Yeah, and with little to no paint to speak for it as well, especially versus a team like Daybreak, which I'm sure the viewers of this tournament are getting sick of us commending their ability to paint, but it's such an impressive strength of this team comp.
It makes such a difference. But like we were saying, E-liter versus Heavy, that's E-liter's fight to win.
Yeah, definitely. I also, before we move on, I do want to say I think I called out the wrong player. I don't think it was Vanking on the E-liter, as we can see. But that doesn't really matter now. What matters now is that there's an Ultra Stamp getting a double kill with that throw. What a great play from that Splatana Wiper. That is great to see as Gil is forced to back away. And this tower is moving into the first checkpoint. Hopefully they can clear it. And this Splatana player is just doing so much, opening up the game, especially with this Trizuka getting... actually, no, that Trizuka was not too influential, especially with Gillis on that flank. I feel like I'm saying this name a lot as well, Nox.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about this comp is that it sets up their Carbon so much that it results in a situation of, yeah, of course you are. With Carbons and E-liters, they're weapons that I feel like if they're not the main name you're saying from the team, they're not playing their weapon right. In full honesty, they're weapons that should be not carries, but they should be so set up that they're always getting the attention.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they're both flashy weapons, but flashy in extremely distinct ways. Catfish here, trying to fight, but in range of that Snipe Rider, not a good place to charge up those shots. Maxim just, or Maximix, really
Heavy love
controlling.
Graves.
Yeah, just holding this left side of the map. Look, this is exactly what we were talking about. WetUp seems to not be able to break through the enemy's defenses. Not even those triple link strikes, or this Ultra Stamp can really force a couple of picks. It can force, oh, never mind, it can force one pick, a very important one at that.
Yes.
And it can force the enemy team to back away, and now suddenly Savas wants to be very aggressive, especially with this Heavy also going down. WetUp in a very, very good position. They need someone on tower, they need some paint on the map, and they need these frontliners to move up.
Missiles came out, helped call out their players. Just the E-liter left off because of it. We don't talk about Missiles much these days, and I hope it stays that way, to be quite frank. I don't need to go back there mentally. But Missiles are really good in this kind of comp, especially when there's so little paint for WetUp. So you can see exactly where everybody is. You can see exactly where they're going to move, because there's not much of their turf on the ground. And now this Heavy is set up in a ridiculous position, quite frankly, and going to be able to do quite a bit, especially if they get somebody set up on that right side. Which, not quite, but a good attempt.
Yeah. Not clearing the checkpoint there is not tragic. Obviously, it would be a lot of added pressure. But a push to 20, in contrast to this push of 72, which, I'll be honest, was the fruit of hardships. And what I'm trying to say with this is it was not easy for WetUp to push up to 72, which is not a good push whatsoever at all. But
they're looking
maybe
good right now, though.
Yeah, with this aggression, this is exactly what WetUp needed. And Sizz moving up as well, trying to assist these splats, and Gil is going down. This suddenly is looking like a very good shot for WetUp to take the lead.
It definitely is. The missiles are coming down, allowing them to push people away from the tower, keeping them from reaching that checkpoint. Admittedly, while Daybreak didn't break it, they did make it most of the way through, so it is still a bit intimidating for WetUp. They have to be able to sit there for a bit of time. There's only a minute left, but they're holding this momentum really well. The Wavebreaker coming out, so the Carbon will have a bit of a harder time for a second here. But Catfish forced to back off, as we're seeing Daybreak finally getting more of that paint down, really going to inhibit WetUp here for a minute.
But even though they didn't quite get to the lead, they kept map control, and you were saying they forced Catfish to back off. I'd rather have a E-liter in mid than a E-liter in spawn. And especially with the
Absolutely.
carbon going down, oh, never mind. Those missiles were
They were
best,
really good missiles.
really good, especially assisting Gillis's position, and that pick on the slosher just tells me that Daybreak will be 2-0, up 2-0 in this set. Because WetUp found themselves struggling the entire map. They couldn't really find their footing, and they definitely just, there's just so much oppression, and again with the painting
But
from
also from the
Daybreak,
range. There's
and
one
also from
short
the
range
range.
thing on Daybreak.
Yeah,
It's the carbon. Everything else is at least mid range, which does a lot. Like, how is a carbon going to approach? How is a wiper going to approach? They have to be really creative and really sneaky, and if your team doesn't have the turf to support that, especially playing into a team with so much turf, it's going to result in a situation where you can't find easy ways to approach, especially on a linear map like Shipshape. There's not really flanks there.
yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And this the pro is such a good pick here. I know I was questioning it before, even before the set, where we saw the 52 before this pro got picked up, and I thought the 52 was just a better fit. But suddenly these missiles are opening up the game a lot for the carbon and just applying a lot of pressure for the C leader player, because the E leader, let me just say, is
There's a
there
reason we didn't see E-Leader in Splatoon 2 at the end.
exactly, but WetUp, I think E leader might be WetUp's best or one of the best resources to try to fight this major weakness or this major advantage that Daybreak is showing over them.
Oh.
And those missiles are certainly not helping at all. Hopefully in Splat Zone's Robo Ramen, they
It's
can find a different outcome, but honestly, I don't see it.
There's more flanks, at least if they do stick with that wiper carbon combo. E-Leader has great sight lines. Slosher is good everywhere because it's Slosher, quite frankly.
Mhm.
Not that we've been talking about the Slosher a lot, but I will never be upset to see a Slosher in a comp. It fits everywhere. It fits anywhere. It's Slosher.
Right.
Um,
I will say though, you mentioned the flanks, which could be good for the carbon wiper combo. However,
Daybreak also has carbon.
that's true. That's point number one. And point number two, if WetUp does end up getting control of the zone, they need to push up. And it just doesn't seem like Carbon and Splatana will be able to hold that top or that choke, the only real place where you got to push to retake in this map. It seems to me that it'll be very hard for them to fight the pro that is coming from spawn unless they push up to the spawn ledge. Then it might be a different story. But if they
But that
don't manage
requires
to do that
getting there.
immediately, it's going to be very, very hard knocks.
Yeah, their comp just is gonna struggle into a lot of things. I actually thought this when we first saw them playing with an E-Leader and a Carbon. They're not weapons we usually see together for a lot of reasons, and it's
Yeah.
because they both require setup from their teammates. Neither of them are weapons that are self-sufficient. They're very good at what they do, but they are not self-sufficient weapons.
Definitely agree. Well, this is WetUp's last chance.
Oh, we're seeing the Umbrella come back.
I like that. I like that a lot. I'll be
I
honest.
like the mini switch in here for the from the heavy too.
Well, let's see how they fare. Sibral here on the Brella. I would have loved to see how the Sorella Brella would have done because their inkjet was so good. But it seems like the E-Leader has gotten a pick immediately, and that's a second pick. Not too sure from which player, and Gillis gets found by the enemy Splatana. Okay, great start for WetUp. Very, very strong, and now they need to set themselves up and set up that sprinkler. Never forget that, Nox.
Never forget the sprinkler on the ramen bowl. You can't forget that. The missiles coming out do help Daybreak to try and break back in, but Vamp King's hitting their shots right now. And this is one of those things, like I was saying last game. If the E-Leader isn't one of your most talked about things on your team, there's a problem. If your E-Leader isn't hitting almost every shot, why do you have your E-Leader? And Vamp King's kind of proven that point right now.
Yeah, I just want to say, Vamp King on the E-Leader. Turns out we were correct earlier. I thought I was wrong on who played.
I think they just have multiple E-Leader players.
They do, and Vamp King, not to diminish the other E-Leader player on this team and their performance, Vamp King just absolutely washed the floor with Daybreak.
They did.
Absolutely. And
It's
I'm just gonna say it. Vam King was undisputed MVP for that match. They
oh yeah.
got an instant pick at the start onto an enemy on kind of their plat hanger area, and then they just kept the picks going.
Tara, as a former Charger player, how would you describe E-Leader's job in a comp? Because you might be able to say it better than me.
Look, with any charger, and of course, when I used to play, it was a different game. Quite literally, it was Splatoon 2, um, where ink armor was really present, and I would, I guess, in this game, I would maybe compare ink armor to tacticooler, although it's not at
the
all one to one.
same.
But on the in the sense that it's the special that gives the rest of the team the ability to push, and that signals we're going in now. So as a charger back in the day, I think the best thing you could have done is rush to mid, obviously in a safe position, and try to get a pick before the ink armor is online. Because obviously that signifies a pick, and that makes it a 4v3 for your team, which just makes it your chances of winning the first exchange and getting first control to be much higher. In this game, I see it as look at the specials. Can you pick off the tacticooler player? If so, go for that. Can you pick off any other player that is giving you trouble? In that case, it was the pro with the missiles. And I think Vam King did exactly what they needed. They got into mid to a place where they know I can abuse my range from here. And let's charge up a shot and try to get a pick before any fighting or even painting of mid starts to be done. And right after that, the rest of their team just collapsed onto the enemy side of the map, and they began that 100-0.
Exactly.
So,
Getting
yeah.
those opening picks is one of the most important things Chargers do. Getting the picks that break open games, whether it be at the start or in the middle or at the end, that's what they're best at. And if you don't hit those shots, it's really bad for your team.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, in Rainmaker Humpback Pump Track, I don't think we'll see many leaders on the
Hopefully
field.
not.
I'll say. So I do wonder if we're going back to the double slosher. That would be Dreadringer and Slosher, and then the Carbon and the Sniper Rider, or if we're gonna see the Wiper once again. I feel like definitely you want to be mobile, and you got to find ways to just brute force your way into Daybreak's space. But look,
Roller is an interesting way of going.
Dynamo
Sorry,
and E-Leader.
and
Dynamo
Roller.
and E-Leader. That is not
Uh-huh.
what I expected. It's quite slow
Yeah.
for Rainmaker, but let's be honest. It's not like Daybreak's comp is that fast either.
No.
And at least it kind of matches the speed at which Daybreak wants to play, and it gives them a lot more paint, maybe? I'm not too sure, because this Dynamo doesn't really paint that much. It doesn't provide much support with the Killer Whale. And
It doesn't
suddenly...
do good shots. It doesn't do ink. It doesn't do tacticooler. I was about to say ink armor. It hasn't done that in a long time.
No. No, but look, now Nox, the Daybreak is just pushing seemingly for free. The entirety of WetUp is confined to their spawn. They really have no specials to their name. They have no paint whatsoever. Maybe with this pop they can try to do something, and with the Carbon player from Daybreak going down, they can actually paint, go to mid, and try to fight this, but they're in no position to start a push whatsoever.
No. And we are seeing the Mini taking quite an aggressive position here. Does get forced out of it by the Killer Whale, which is really good for WetUp. But the Mini is still going to be able to... No, never mind. I spoke too soon. The Dreadringer comes out with that Reef Slider. This should be the checkpoint cleared. The Pro is coming in from respawn. WetUp's looking pretty good here, especially if this Zuka finds anything. It doesn't quite... 38's not a bad push. It's not a great push on this map either.
It's really respectable, and what I also respect is Sibral's performance on this Dynamo roller. We were saying maybe it's a bit slow, but you can definitely feel that buff, this latest buff from the patch, because every time I look at this player and there's at least one Daybreak member in front of them, they just get picked off instantly, and Sibral has been opening up the right side of the map so much, and it seems like Daybreak cannot get their team together. They're always staggered. Maybe these missiles can delay the push and help Daybreak reunite their forces, but it looks like WetUp controls the entirety of the map and definitely the pace of the game.
Yeah, I also want to point out how well these Reef Sliders have been being used to shut down the couple bubbles that there have been. And now the Dreadringer just doing an excellent job helping keep the pace up. It should be a KO. We'll see. There's always a chance. There we go. You know, I'm just always ready for the undertow moments of we're just trying to get up the checkpoint still.
Look,
great job, WetUp. Great turnaround.
I don't think Nox, we did a good job as casters at signaling how impressive that was, because we were talking about the state of the game, right? But what actually
happened?
also
a little stun locked by the weapons.
No, right, but what happened in the last 20 seconds of that game was impressive. Save Us just completely wiped out the enemy team. I think they got a triple, and the chip damage that came from WetUp, from even the Rainmaker shots, just allowed them to pick off each of the members of Daybreak one by one, and they just ran it in. It was so free for them. It seemed like the entirety of the map and the enemy side of the map, which is the most impressive part, was completely unlocked for WetUp to just move up. They could even sit with the Rainmaker for a couple seconds. I don't think it would have mattered.
No, it probably would have been fine. They were very dominant. They've been very dominant in these last two games. And I'm not sure what Daybreak wants to do about that. Because they lost on the mode that their comp is really strong on zones. I wouldn't be shocked to see... Well, they can't go to tower control. They can go to zones. They can go to Rainmaker. Yeah. They can go to Clam Blitz.
I'll be honest. I would pick a zones map, and I would make sure that it's not too close quarters as to it would screw over the heavy and the sniper rider. But I would definitely look for a map where the range difference between those two weapons and the E-liter isn't significant enough as to you can't touch the E-liter. So yeah. I'm thinking something like Inkblot, maybe even Mako Mart, even though E-liter can be quite oppressive in that map, surprisingly. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. Splat zones would be my go-to right now. And look, this is game 5. This is game 5 of Winners Finals. This is quite the important game, Nox.
It's a game you really don't want to lose. It's nice to go into grand finals with that winner's advantage, for so many reasons. In part because you also can go grab a snack. The losers team doesn't get to do that, and that's
not at all.
That's not fun.
No snack, no fun.
Exactly.
Well, let me just say, Nox, this based off of the first game. When I watched the first game, I was like, okay, well, Daybreak might win this.
Same with the second game.
Yeah, not without their hiccups, but they can probably win this. Second game, I was like, all right, it's over. WetUp, pack it up. But I got so surprised during that Splat Zones game.
Yeah.
And this Rainmaker game just absolutely baffled me. What WetUp has done here is absolutely incredible. They didn't crumble under the pressure of being down 2-0 in best of 5. And they managed to pull through in maps that weren't too obvious, at least for us two.
Mm-hmm. And with really interesting comps.
Yeah, no, and it seems like the entire dynamics between these two teams during the matches has completely changed. It just flipped. In Splat Zones Umami, Daybreak just could do whatever and control the entire pace.
And same with Rainmaker Humpback Pump Track. That was their game.
Flipped. Yeah. I'm just really impressed, and I think Daybreak right now is losing the mental game. We're waiting for this counter pick. We have been waiting for quite a bit of time, and I think that's in part due to Daybreak being kind of nervous. Like, it's very difficult to understand, oh, what happened? We were up 2-0. Suddenly we're one game from being knocked to losers. What can we do? And it does seem like we're going into Clan Blitz Umami. So maybe this team does like Umami quite a bit. Clan Blitz kind of confuses me. But
Yeah.
I'm into it. I'm down for it because E-Leader and Clan Blitz don't really mesh well together. And the fact that you might not be expecting the E-Leader anymore can let your shooter player go from the pro back to the 52 gal, which can help the Carbon Roller a lot more
Yeah.
in pushing and just doing off angles together. So yeah, I rate this pick quite a bit, Nox.
Yeah, I think it's a very solid choice for them. I think it fits what their comp does really well. It doesn't. I mean, part of this problem is that these two teams play similar comps pretty often. And so when it enables their comp pretty well, it also enables WetUp's comp pretty well.
Exactly.
So if they're very confident on Umami, if it's a very comfortable map for them, that's fantastic. And so far, that's what we've seen from them. Every time we've seen them here, they've done fantastically. So I'm very excited to see how this goes. And we're sticking with the Dynamo. Not too shocking, I guess.
Not at all. I like it a lot. The E-Leader is a surprise for me, but apparently not for Daybreak because Neon is sticking to these Tenon missiles, which honestly, great call from them. Look, this is game 5. It's winners finals. Whoever wins this goes up to grands and doesn't have to go through the grueling experience that is losers. This could be anyone's game, Nox. Sabus already has a power clam, passes it up to Sibral. And with this killer whale, it seems like WetUp was a contender to hold mid, but no, Daybreak, especially with Gillis getting this pick. No,
not quite.
What a whiff. Save us with the incredible play with the Ultra Stamp and getting that pick with the throw. This is a great opportunity for WetUp to start their first push.
It is, and Neon's in a rough position here. Going to be able to help stay in it, though, because of that Snipe Raider, because of that heavy, being able to keep pressuring from such long ranges, keeping such consistent angles, and this is being said with kindness. What a nothing of a first minute, because both of these teams are being so evenly matched.
Yes, you can definitely tell, not the fear, but the respect that each team has for the other one, because they're very cautious to push. Which to me signals disrespect. They're cautious to push. They know that if they make a mistake, they will get picked off, just like the Splatoon Viper just did right now. But the heavy does go down. Neon goes down. Sizz gets the pick Sibral as well. But no E-Leader on the field means that Daybreak can push up. Will they do it? No. The Carbon Roller and the heavy are staying back. But the Carbon trying to push up right now. Sibral might have something to say about it. No. Whiffs the couple shots. And look, Nox, like you said, the second minute, much like the first one, was bound to be a bunch of nothing. But no, with all those picks, Daybreak finally can start their push. They don't have clams, but they do have map control, and they're moving up. Even though this Carbon is getting a pick, Nox. Okay, you might have been.
That's the
I don't
point.
think this will amount to nothing.
No, we've got some points. 68 at this point, when 2 minutes pass without scoring, we take 68. Generally, I prefer to see bigger first pushes. But when the first push takes that long, it's hard to argue with. Also, Vamp King is absolutely wild on this E-Leader still. Completely ridiculous.
Yeah, I was talking about the respect that these players have, but Vamp King seems to have a lot of confidence. They were marked with the power climb even, and they went up to take the most aggressive angle I've seen. Another pick, and only Gillis below the basket here. They identified him with the torpedo, and that is a very, very worthwhile trade for WetUp. A couple clams in, no lead yet, but that will soon change. There it is, and I hope that they have the discipline to move out. Oh, never mind. Okay, another 20. Don't mind if I do.
You can do that. Actually, that one's worth it.
And now, to what I was gonna say, I hope WetUp has the discipline to move back into mid and try to hold it and not be overzealous, because Daybreak could come in any second now. They're charging up their specials. They almost have that tactical, and they are ready to go now. This is quite dangerous. It can be anyone's game still.
It is, and Vamp King just keeps shutting down their heavy splatling, which, once again, not a surprise, but still brutal for Daybreak to have to deal with. There's an Ultra Stamp at the ready. The Pro went down, so they don't have a way of forcing the E-Leader out of position right now. This is looking like another potential push for WetUp when Daybreak just needs to find a way into mid.
Sizz here trying to assist with a couple of burst bombs. Not much they can do. Trying to shark under the ledge. I don't mind that at all. Get a pick with the Trizuka. Okay, delay the enemy push a little bit more as they pop the tactical, and they really want to push. But look at the clam counts. We got 0 on the defending team. That's all right. But we got 5 on the team that's trying to break through the enemy spawn. That is not what you want to see.
It looks like they're also trying to pass clams around quite a bit right now. Spawns also just were so in their favor that it's quite frankly ridiculous. It's not often you see clam spawns that in favor of a team. I would claim they were doing pod locking stuff, but most teams don't do that. And that's to 32, just their pro left up. I think their pros on respawn needs to probably just focus on surviving and getting special right now. Can't even focus on holding mid as a single player. 30 seconds left on the clock. It is anyone's game.
Yeah, Sizz here playing a little bit careful, still sticking back. I would have liked to see this player move into mid a little bit faster, but it's okay. The enemy team hasn't moved into mid. With the Trizuka maybe getting a pick, but no, 2 down on the side of WetUp. Daybreak, this is their game right now. If they only manage to just maintain the stability, save us getting another pick with the Ultra Stamp, with this Torpedo trying to push up, apply a little bit more pressure. There's a lot of power clams, and there's a lot of clams on the side of Daybreak.
Just the Snipe
Picks
Rider.
going, just the Snipe Rider. You gotta move up right now, apply some pressure to that Snipe Rider, get the clams. This could be the turnaround they need. WetUp, only 2 clams left. Nox, can they do it? There it is, that's the lead. And they absolutely stole that from the jaws of defeat.
They did.
How could they? Wow. What an intense last match. 2 minutes of absolute stalemate at the start, followed by 3 minutes of chaos and back and forth. Nox, both of these teams played amazingly for this last map, but WetUp found this
their last second opportunity.
And they seized it. That they did. And they're moving on to Grands. 3-2. That is no short feat. That is a very tall feat, actually. 3-2 off of a 2-0. That is absolutely insane. WetUp, kudos to them. Daybreak played amazingly. I'm sure they can pull something in that loser side of the bracket, but wow, I'm so impressed.
Wouldn't be surprised to see a rematch in Grand Finals, to say the least.